Écoute mon cœur, où es-tu maintenant? Il s'agit d'attendre toute ma vie.
Slice of Pepe has a couple of weapons that you can only use in New Game Plus. This is one of such weapons. It is amazing. I like it. It's a quite interesting weapon, and it has some strange capabilities, some little things that are going to make it shine and outstand from the rest of the weapons. Now the rest of the belts, the things that we're going to be discussing right here, a lot of it is personal preference and is going to alter the playstyle. This is based on how I feel that this weapon performs better. That said, there are different playstyles out there. You might have a different playstyle. You might enjoy guarding, perfect blocking, dodging a little bit more. I'm going to showcase this build as something that I think that it suits the playstyle that you would have with this weapon and the one that would take advantage the most. That said, it's just game mechanics that you can take advantage of while taking use of this weapon. But in reality, you can use it however you like it. So let's just talk about the weapon that is what is that is going to make it special. First and foremost, the speed. It attacks very freaking fast, and you look like a Shaolin monk. It has like a monk, kind of monk playstyle moveset and animations of the weapon. The light attacks are going to be very fast, which is why I advise for you to use the playstyle with this thing, and the belt that we're going to be crafting is going to be by dodging. You can block, but the weapon itself doesn't have that much guard. As a matter of fact, the guard potential that this thing has is 47. Do have in mind that you're only going to get access to this weapon once you reach the ending of the game if you took the Lies playthrough, so you're not only going to be able to use it while you are in New Game Plus. That said, enemies on New Game Plus hit real hard. This is one of those weapons that you're going to take a beating if you're using it to block, so I'd not advise for you to have a blocking playstyle with this weapon. Well, if you're really good at perfect gods, then that's something that you can certainly most definitely do. But the ideal thing with this thing, pardon the redundancy, is going to be by dodging. The charge heavy attacks are also going to be quite fast in a sense. It's going to take quite a lot for you to complete them, but that is only because there's several hits that you have in that. There's one thing that you need to have in mind while you are positioning and deciding when do you want to use that charge heavy to get that posture damage and finally be able to deal a fatal attack. And that's the thing, being that only the second and final attack of the charge heavies, that's the one that is going to break the stance of the enemy, so you have to be very careful by using this thing. It's going to be more DPS because it's several hits in quick succession, but only the final hit is the one that is going to break the stance of the enemy. And then finally, the Fable slots, those are the ones that are going to shine a little bit more. You have the basic one, which is just a basic Fable attack in a quick succession. Do have in mind that as of patch 1.2, this has been buffed, so you have hyper armor while performing this little thing right here, and it deals quite a bit of damage. It's 3 attacks in fast succession. And then you have the left bumper and Y or triangle, depending on which platform are you playing on. It's going to have similar damage, but it's going to charge it, as you can see right here. The thing is that if you press it just immediately and drop it, which is something that I do not advise for you to do, it's not going to deal that much damage because it's just going to be a fast little thing. You might think that why would I want to be doing this because it's going to leave me open? Well, no. In a sense, you can bypass every single enemy attack because while you are doing it, you are also going to be blocking. The only thing that you're going to have to watch out by using that Fable attack is if the enemy does a Fury attack. That's the only way that you're going to want to cancel it and immediately roll out of that animation. If you're New Game Plus 2, you have the access to block Fury attacks, So that's something to have in mind as well. But as of New Game Plus 1, just the basic New Game Plus that we're going to have, you're going to be using it to block just normal, regular attacks. And it is ideal. As a matter of fact, most of my playthrough and most of the Fable attacks that I do with this thing is basically using that thing because it deals the same amount of damage that we have with the previous one, while also keeping you safe. So why would you want to be using the other one when you have this one? Granted, the other one has a little bit more tracking and it's going to lean forward towards the enemies. That's something, and this one is going to be a little bit more stationary. You are not going to be able to move, but you are going to have defense. So that's the one that I like to use. So stats. As you can see right here, yes, we have quite a bit of stats. We are a New Game Plus. But let me guide you through how this thing should be looking like as you level up. Naturally, when you begin your New Game Plus, you're not going to have this kind of stats. But thankfully enough, for the early stages of New Game Plus, you can have the previous build that you had pre-established. I would say that Vitality on 30, that's fine, that's just more than enough. Bigger, 25, that's entirely fine. Capacity, you're going to need to increase capacity as you play throughout New Game Plus to increase the capacity of being able to use those +1 amulets and +1 defensive pots. So you are going to have to increase capacity, but beginning New Game Plus and capacity on 25, it's going to be more than enough. At that point, you should have more than enough level to focus yourself on building the damage of the weapon. It's a very fast attacking weapon, and it's not going to have that much scaling, so that's something that you need to have in mind. That said, this is a quality weapon, but the thing is that the quality weapon, the quality scaling of the weapon, it's not that amazing, it's just AC, so feel free to add a motivity or technique rank if you do not want to be leaning too much, spending too many points into motivity and technique. Do have in mind that the soft cap in this game happens at 40. Beyond this threshold, you are just going to get 1 to 2 points into returns for damage increase, and then I believe that at 50 or 60 you're going to get 1 point in some levels and 0 in some other levels. So it is not worth it to go beyond this point. So that is how you should be leveling up your character in New Game Plus. As for the Legion arms, being a quality build, you do have access to quite a whole lot of things because of the high stats that you have in motivity and technique. But I'd say, as a personal preference and as a recommendation, I would say that you should be using Aegis if you want to also have a defensive choice. That said, Aegis is going to guard you from damage that much more better than your weapon is going to. So if you want to be relying on dodging and blocking at the same time, Aegis is the way to go, because Aegis is going to guard you a little bit better. Like I said, I do not advise for you to be blocking with this weapon, because the guard blocking potential, it's just 47. You're still going to take quite a lot of damage if you're blocking natively with the weapon. I wouldn't advise for you to block with the weapon because you're going to receive too much damage. That's the reason why we are going to be using the Ghost Walk amulet as a must with this build. And at this point, you should have it. You are in New Game Plus. You should have picked this bad boy up while you were doing your first regular playthrough. Although if you instead decide to have chosen the 2 dragon swords and you do not have the Ghost Walker amulet, then this is a playthrough that you're going to get the chance to actually get it. And not much more beyond than that. You are going to be using the Patience amulets, the Carrier's amulet. It's something that I like to use just to stay below that 50 threshold, because if we change this thing right here, well, you can still have something a little bit different right here. As for the rest of the amulets, you can be using, like, for example, the Murderer's amulet, depending on whichever thing that you're fighting, to increase the damage that you inflict on humans, puppets, and carcasses, things like that. But the amulets that I think that are a must, you can toy around with them, and as a matter of fact, that's something on the P organs. You do not need to have these extra 2 slots right here. These are going to be irrelevant. The only 2 amulets that you are going to need to have as a must, it's going to be the Patience amulet and the Ghost Walk amulet. The rest of them, they are just going to be additional bonus little things that you are going to have, but feel free to change your P organ upgrades for something different. That said, P organs. Very important, hugely important. Like I said, for this one, we're going to be focusing on dodging. So a must that you have to take immediately is going to be Link Dodge. That is going to increase your survivability, and this is just the very first thing that you should be picking up, regardless of any builds. One thing that you are going to be taking is lower the damage while dodging, as you can see right there, and you're going to take as many of them as possible. Lower the damage while dodging, because like I said, the focus and prioritized thing that we're going to have right here is just focusing on dodges. That said, just to increase your Fable Arts attack damage, do not take offensive perfect guards, at least not if we're going to be dodging that much more, because like I said, we're going to be dodging. You don't have to worry about fury attacks because you have the Ghost Walker amulet. Fable slots, because we're going to be using quite a lot of Fable. So I'd say that beyond that point, that is the highlights that I would advise for you as for the P organs. Like I said, amulets are not going to be of that importance if you already have the previous two ones. You can prioritize on Fable slots, things like that. And then finally, the grinder. You can use several different grindstones right here, depending on whichever thing that you are fighting against. The enemies have some different resistances. But I say that the best one that you can have is going to be the Electric Blitz grindstone. This is going to increase the damage that the enemy takes, and that is going to increase also the posture damage that the enemy takes. So that's beautiful, that's gorgeous, and I really, really love that. That said, this is a very fast attacking weapon, so you are going to be inflicting the enemy quite often because of how fast this thing is. I would even say that this weapon is very close. It doesn't have that much damage, but is very close at fast attacking with a speed of a dagger. So that's nice. If you sum up to that Fable art where you are swinging your weapon right there, you're going to increase the potential damage and status ailment that you are going to inflict upon the enemy. So that's something nice. And just to wrap up, that is how the build works. You have a very, very fast attacking weapon, and since you're not going to be guarding that much because you're going to receive too much damage, and since you are a New Game Plus, you should be focusing yourself on dodging the enemy quite a lot. You also have your Aegis. Your Aegis is going to provide that little defense if you're finding it difficult to dodge those fast attacking enemies. Do have in mind that if you have the Link Dodge, you can panic roll, so that is very appreciated. That is something that I do like to do. We all love to panic roll on our Souls-like, so yeah, that's something to have in mind as well. You're also going to have your Fable odds. And ideally, this thing actually charges your Fable quite often. That's something that I forgot to mention. When you are using your P organs, you should also prioritize on the Fable Catalyst, how much you recharge, because those things are just clutch. Those things are game savers, and you can ideally just punch through boss fights that are giving you issues while using your Perfect Guard kind of Fable art thingy, and just worry about dodging those fury attacks that are very annoying. Anyways, if you like the content, I like and very super appreciated. No one tell you today that you're a gorgeous and beautiful person. You are indeed a gorgeous and beautiful person. I will be seeing you goddamn gorgeous and beautiful people in the next one. A beautiful day and goodbye.
Longue journée de